Okay, it's recording.
All right, we can start with me. Matt Sieber, Tom Waziski. Nice seeing you. Looking good, sir. We're going to walk you through the whole epaulet installation here. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to locate the black plastic base, the 2 slots in it. And then we have 2 upright pieces that we will insert in. You will notice that there is more space on one side than the other from the slots. The more space is the back of the case, and these are essentially stair stringers that are pushed in, and they will go all the way to the bottom. There's more to the back of the case because this overhangs the back portion. So if it's turned around, it'll look silly and it won't work. So these go all the way in. There we go. And the front of the case is, this is like a stair stringer. Front of the stairs, front of the case, or bottom of the stairs, front of the case, the less dimension here. So now we're going to be installing the epaulets on the stringers. And we're going to go from the bottom up. And the reason we're going from the bottom up is if we're monkeying around with it and you put too much pressure here, it can come out. But once this is in place, and especially once a vitrine is put on it, this is not going to go anywhere. Once it's all together, very stable. The process getting too stable, maybe a little unstable. So we'll go through that. Okay, the first part that we are going to install down at the bottom, the last 3 numbers on the stringer are 119 A and B. We're going to place this in front of you, and the numbers are on the top surface. And we're going to get those objects out of the box. These are the ones with the number 2 on them. I'm going to turn them upside down, match up the last 3 digits and letter, 19B, 19B. And we'll get 19A in place. Accompanying these items are, and they'll be in a plastic bag inside the box, are these decorative brass screws with the eagle on them. Set these aside. I'm going to pick up one end of this and slide it behind the brass until the hole lines up. Now the hole, we're not going to go all the way through the brass. What's important to line up really, and holding these 2 as a unit, flip it over, and I'm looking to find this hole and line it up on the back. So we're trying to find this hole through the plexiglass. Our hardware will not go all the way through. This plexiglass is threaded to accept these. Now, they will fit well, but they're also, doesn't take much to cross thread these. So you want to do a couple times to, you're ensuring if they're going in straight, they'll go in very, very easily. And of course, just finger tight, no need for pliers, pipe wrench. Now this is fixed. Now we'll go to the other side, side A, slip between the velvet and the brass. We're going to turn this over as a unit, working on a padded surface here, and trying to find that hole, and there we are. Taking the hardware, might take a few times. And there goes Dan Swan, my boss. Bye, Dan. See, it might take a couple of times. Maybe you have to come down here and look through the side. That might be a good way to sight it up. And this one's going to give me fits. There we go. But yeah, take the time to get it right and screw it in, because at an angle, that kind of goofs everything up. Now, here we are as a unit, and it's simply picked up and placed on the first stringer and eyeballed to center. First one's done. Take a break. You've earned it. Not too long of a break though. We've got 2 more to do. So the next ones that will go on are these lovely ones with the curly brass on them. Last 3 digits 077A. These are kind of, once you get the fringe going, these are kind of hard to handle. Sometimes what I do is I just kind of turn it around like this and they all kind of fall out of the way. And I'm going to get the other one. These use different hardware. What we'll be using in this instance, as you might see these from your office supply store, these are brass prong fasteners. Okay, now I'm set these aside. On these brass prong fasteners, you'll see there's a little mylar washer that Michael Hatcher here lovingly cut from us out of acetate. So, once again, the stringer, you're reading the text, it's facing you, B on the left, A on the right. This fork goes on either side of the brass. When you're doing this, always be careful that you're not knocking this off the table. It's pretty close to do. In fact, I'm going to set this just a little bit to the side. Now, the trick to getting these things in is splitting them just a little bit to begin with. And once again, we're going to roll this over as a unit. And again, we will not be engaging this plate of brass underneath. If this is pushed against it, it kind of bends the whole thing. It doesn't work. So now this is spread apart a bit. Put it through the hole and into the plexiglass. And now you'll be able to bend these apart. Set this down as a unit. Come over here to part A. Fork goes on either side of brass. What I will do, I had to shorten these, and what I'm going to do for you to make it a little easier is, like when they come out of the package, one side's a little shorter than the other so that it is easy to get apart. I spread it apart a bit, just you can squeeze it together to go in the hole, then it springs apart. So once again, I'm going to roll this over. I can see that I'm still lined up. Putting this in. This seems pretty sturdy, it should be, but maybe you want somebody spotting you there. And taking these and moving these to the side. Once again, here we are level. Put it on the stringer. There we go. All right. The last one, in some ways the simplest, but in other ways is the most complicated, because this one has no good way to fasten it on, and we're going to have to employ the use of polyethylene belting, and we'll put a little bit of this in there for you. Hopefully you have in your repertoire 3M 415 tape. And what this is an acrylic adhesive that's conservationally sound. And it will allow us to put these little clear belts around this. So, our last stringer, this one's a little different from the others. It has a step in it to accommodate our, there's like an offset on these, but you can see if your text is right side up. I have the text so you can read it, and that way, so when we do flip it over and put it on, the text is on the far side of the mount. That way, if somebody's looking at it from the front, they don't see the reflection of that at the bottom. The one instance in this actually is where it's a little different is this first one, but it's so obscured that you can easily, no one's going to see it. But these two, that text is on the back. If you're looking from the front and you can see a reflection in the edge of the plexiglass, then just pick it up, turn it around, set it back down, and that text will then be at the back. Okay. The items with the red fringe are the last one. Being the left and the right. Now, this one's going to be a bit more difficult and it might require extra hands. One belt will probably be enough to secure it and keep it safe during the exhibit. We're going to see how this works. This relief built into it, now we have an offset, we have relief to accept this metal tongue right here and give it a place to go. So how are we going to use the seat belts? If you've used them before, well, then you can just fast forward to the other portion of the program. But this is what we're talking about here. Maybe we'll drop some of this in a plastic bag for you. I think the thinner stuff will be all right. There is no adhesive on this, so if you should like drop this, it makes quite a mess. Just quick tip. So I'm going to place my mount. Pretty much the metal tab comes to the edge here, and this oval is centered within the oval of the other. And we're going to put a strap, probably the best place to put it is, it's almost over the item number here, this thicker portion right here. So I am going to get a piece of 415 tape, put it on the plexiglass right here, and then carefully lift the release paper which leaves behind the adhesive. I'm going to cut off a length of the polyethylene belting, more than enough. I'm going to get this out of the way so I don't drop the darn thing. Now here is where extra hands, I'll probably be all right. I'd suggest extra hands. You might also want to put some ethylene blocks under a few things. I'm going to lift this up and out of the way. Put my blocks down because I'm going to want to get underneath this. Okay, so this allows me to hold this centered. I'm going to put the tape I've chosen is twice as wide as my belting. I come around. This usually takes me a couple of times to get right. It'll take some tension, not a ton of tension. It'll take some. There, and you can see I've taken my hand off of this and it's held it in place with just that seat belt. I've set it down, and now I'm going to trim off that excess right there. Now the first one's easy, because now the next one we do, well, we've got this thing skating around on it, so like I say, an extra set of hands for you might not be a bad thing. Before I get the other one out, that worked well, so I am going to put my piece of tape here, and notice numbers are right side up and reading left to right. Very important. I'm just going to go ahead and take off my release paper. And at this point, I might as well put on my, it's hard to see, but it catches very well, So I've got my tape, and I've got my belt here. Now I'm going to get my artifact. Placing this. It's always hard getting this past the others. Let's see, I'm going to move this down as a unit. Give myself a bit more room. Lift this up so now I can get around this again. So oval is centered. Threading this around past the making sure there's not a twist in this. And you see I just about buckled up a twist, okay, and then there. Well, we're going to do that again. No twist. Centered. All right, now I'm going to pick this up, scoot it underneath so everything's sturdy. Snipping off my extra polyethylene, or polypropylene. I always get them mixed up. I think it's polyethylene. So now here we are. Now I would pinch, don't depend upon the seat belt, and pinch the artifact against the mount and turn it over. At this point, it should be self-supporting. If you are unsure, you can always put a second seat belt on in the same manner. Once this is ready to go, you set it on your mount. If you are going to be moving this at this point to the case, I would suggest removing the stair stringers, starting at the top, moving to the bottom, setting them aside on top of some blocks, so you're not, fouling what's underneath. So set these three things aside, move your mount into place, and then starting from the bottom, going to the top, replace your stringers. I'll be sending you a diagram of this, so you'll see the order of these things, and if there's any other notes that I can think of. So nice working with you. Please call me if you've got any questions. Take care.